Hello, everyone. Welcome to my very first slide presentation on YouTube. For those of you who have been following my blog and also my podcast on Spotify, you might be familiar that I do blog posts and blogcasts. I call them blogcasts because they are my blog posts that I just read over the internet and turn it into a podcast. But thank you to the advent of technology, ngayon, I can actually share this particular blog post and turn it into both an audio and a video recording with slides. Awesome, isn't it? All right. I found a very affordable way to do it compared to how I did it before when I had to pay about $40 a month, US dollars a month, to just come up with these slides. And I'm excited because it's the first time I'm going to present some slides with my newly found approach to therapy, which is ACT therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy. So if you're familiar with the older slides that I presented in the past before 2019, they were mostly a mix of existential this therapy, psychodynamic therapy, or even some cognitive behavior, traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay. So now this is my very first video presentation on YouTube that involves slides and it involves ACT therapy. And it's about an interesting topic for people who may have found it very difficult to find motivation to continue living their lives. I can understand it is rather disappointing sometimes. Life can give us a lot of, let's say, unexpected turns. Okay. So once again, before I proceed reading my blog post to you and turning it into this video and also a podcast, this is Nathan Chu. I'm coming to you from the Philippines. I'm a counselor here since 2009. I've been a counselor here since 2009, and this is again something probably historic for me. All right, at least for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my story for you today. Okay. So the title of this article is Not Everyone is a Zelensky. Not everyone ends up a hero. Okay. So I was inspired a few months ago to write something about Zelensky and how it can relate to our personal lives, even if we're not in a war or we're not involved in anything heroic, quote unquote heroic. Uh, So um, we sometimes think of that, but all of us have done something quite important in our lives. Maybe we're not aware of it, but we do small little heroic stuff, heroic things, sorry, every day. The mother caring for the child, you going to work every day, uh, you going home to your family every night to see your kids play, uh, you being the loving husband or the loving wife or partner that you want to be. Those are small things, but they do add up to a life well lived. Okay. So, what is this all about? It's kind of weird title. So, well, I was inspired by some of the lives that I've seen in the counseling room. So, this is for you. Okay. So, here we go. How many times have you and I been discouraged as the results of at the results of our hard work? So sometimes we do a lot of work and we end up not getting the kind of appreciation or acknowledgement that we want. Tama ba? How many times have you and I have loved but failed? So how many times have you been, let's say, well, here in the Philippines we call it busted or um, let's say, ditched by a partner or rejected by somebody you liked? Have you ever taken care of a stray puppy and ended up seeing that puppy die just a few months after? All right. Have you ever done something that you thought would benefit your organization but end up unappreciated? So all of these, life has its disappointments. All right. So before we go to this slide, uh, let me go back. All right. So let me stay with this slide. So if you are any of these, you have any of these experiences. All right. Well, welcome to the club, my friend. This is something that you share with countless others who have lived long enough to experience the pain of the human condition. Oftentimes, we get disheartened by the results of our hard work and our standing up for what we believe is important. This could be mostly because we often miss seeing the value behind the goals we set for ourselves. So let's go to that slide that I was just showing you earlier. So let's define goals. Goals are guideposts that tell us that we are heading in the direction we want for our lives. Goals are benchmarks that tell us that if we are either looking forward to or looking back on something that we accomplished, sometimes with much pride, sometimes with mixed feelings. And goals are also not a sure thing. We're not sure if we can make those goals. They can be elusive or even unachievable in our lifetimes. I've met very many loving people who who want to be loving, and one of their goals is to be married or be committed to a relationship, but they end up not having one. So these are goals. You may or may not achieve them. You and I, including myself. Now, on the other hand, we have what we call values. Values are qualities of being that we aspire to be about. It is inexhaustible. It does not have an endpoint that we either look ahead to or look back on. It can be the fuel that burns the fire for our daily existence that could otherwise feel like they're meaningless or feel like it's pointless. So that's what values are. So in Acts, for those of you who are familiar, values is a part of the hexagon, one part of the behavioral flexibility skills that we learn, or psychological flexibility skills that we learn. So as we live our lives and pursue those goals, as we live our values and pursue those goals, not all of us will end up being acknowledged the way we want to. Not all of us end up on the cover of Time magazine like the president of the Ukraine, Zelensky. Even in such challenging places like the Ukraine, many soldiers in Ukrainian army and even civilians have bravely stayed to fight for their territorial rights. But unlike their president, many of them will die unknown. At best, their names might be engraved in some memorial one day. But how many of us really take time to get to know each one of these heroes? Sorry, I came up with this photo. I couldn't find a photo where I would see a cemetery full of, you know, um, the uh, they call those tombstones of dead soldiers. All right. So sorry for this, but I just can't find any other picture. So I just thought that this was closest to something that I'm to the thing that I'm talking to here in this particular part of my post. Okay. So, yeah, there are a lot of unknown soldiers there who have died with no recognition at all. Ask yourself this question, regardless of the results of your small but heroic endeavors. Whatever your lot in life, would you still do what you just did, right? Whatever it is that you think you did because you wanted to do it to help others or to be kind to others or whatever it is, right? If you didn't get the recognition that you want, would you still do it? If you are to dedicate most of your adult life to something you want to do and no one would know, what would you choose to do, right? Maybe you can relate to these stories. A security guard earning what can hardly be called a living wage returns a bag full of cash to an unsuspecting tourist. A homeless person rushing in to save another pinned underneath a burning car. A dedicated worker who contributes daily to their organization without much recognition or reward, only to get a measly salary. So let's get back to the question that I started this article with. Read them again and ask yourself, would you still have done it? Like the security guard, like the homeless person, like the dedicated worker who didn't get any kind of recognition. Would you still have worked hard to help a group of people who toil with you every day in your office, kahit even if you don't get any kind of reward for it? Would you still have loved that person the way you did? Would you have loved and risked it? You know, I mean, you could love the perfect person in your life, but that person can die tomorrow. We don't know, right? But would you still have loved that person? Uh, for those of you who are listening from the Philippines, I hope you understand I'm saying this in English because sometimes I'm reading this in English because sometimes there are a lot of people out there who don't understand Tagalog who get to listen or watch these videos or these podcasts. All right. Would you still have taken that stray puppy? Would you still have done that for your company, regardless of the results? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then welcome to the club again, my friend. You are in the company of the nameless soldiers who died in war for the sake of something bigger than themselves. You may not end up as Zelensky or in the headlines of a broadsheet, but you stood up for something you wanted to be for that moment. If you ask me why we do it as human beings, blame it on this guy. Well, for those of you who don't know, this is a portrait of Darwin, Charles Darwin. Blame it on Darwinian evolution. There is a part of us that has never left us in millions of years of evolution. We are the most social of all primates. We have that gene, that social gene, that tells us that we are capable of doing caring things, even at the highest cost, with little reasons for these deeds than just being the creature that we are. That's the kind of programming we have, fortunately or unfortunately. We can do really big things for nothing more than this love. All right. So, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I'm sorry, I'm a bit emotional uh, towards the end. It's hard. sometimes to realize how much we or people have sacrificed for that thing called love. And thank you all for watching this. And I'm very happy to have this for the first time. I'm glad we have cheaper technology now that allows me to do this and share this with you. For those of you who are more audiovisual in terms of how they learn. Uh, and again, I welcome you to visit my website, onelifeonly.net. All of these materials are there. And, and I hope you have enjoyed today's video presentation. The slides that uh, kind of describe what I wrote today for you. And also wait for the podcast for those of you who would prefer to listen to it on audio. All right. Okay. So again, onelifeonly.net. This is Nathan Chua from the Philippines. Please do like and subscribe. And you guys take care. Bye bye for now. And till the next video. Okay. Bye.